Welcome to the Lands of Ruin game overview series. This video will cover key concepts you will need to understand before playing Lands of Ruin. Lands of Ruin is an action point-based game. This means that characters require certain amounts of action points to perform their intended movement and actions each turn. The action point system is designed to always offer the players a trade-off between power and flexibility. Using more action points for actions like ranged attacks gives the character a better chance of succeeding in the attack, but it also reduces the amount of movement the character can perform. Action points can be thought of as units of time. Each character in the game has a certain amount of time each turn in which to act, represented by their available amount of action points. Each character has 20 action points per turn. These are used to assign actions to each character during the command phase. Each action available to a character costs a certain amount of action points. When the player assigns an action to the character, the cost is automatically deducted from the character's available action points. Assigned actions are performed by the characters on the following turn's action phase. After assigning all actions, any remaining action points for the character are converted into the character's movement allowance on the following turn. If no actions are assigned to a character, then all action points are converted to movement. Each unused action point equals 1 inch of movement for the character's next turn, minus any modifiers from equipment, weight, and suppression. Unused action points also increase the character's defense for the following turn, as the character is moving faster, is more aware of their environment, and therefore more difficult to hit. All of this is automatically calculated by the app and factored into any attacks performed against the character. It is also possible to use all of a character's action points in assigning actions. This means the character will not be able to move at all on the following turn's action phase. Each player turn is composed of a series of 4 phases: the action phase, sync phase, command phase, and environment phase. The action phase is when all of a player's characters perform their movement and any actions assigned during the previous turn's command phase. On the first turn of a game, only movement can be performed by all characters, since there was no previous command phase and therefore no actions assigned. The sync phase is when the player indicates to the app where their characters have been moved during the previous action phase. This is done by selecting each character's card in the command console and then tapping their location on the map. The command phase is when a player assigns actions to all of their characters. These assigned actions will be performed on the player's following turn during the action phase. Assigned actions can be thought of as the commands issued to each character per turn, or as the character's intended actions they wish to perform in the near future. Since the characters must wait to perform their intended actions until after the opponent's turn, these intentions do not always work out in the long run. This is done intentionally to simulate that all these actions are happening simultaneously on the battlefield. No one knows exactly what their enemy is going to do in the next few seconds, making their decisions and intent less certain. The environment phase is when all of the AI-controlled NPCs and environment act and take effect on all player characters. This phase is also when any thrown grenades or other delayed attacks take effect. All routers and AI-controlled characters move and attack during the environment phase. Any new creatures from the surrounding areas, attracted to the noise of the battle, also appear at the table edge. Both players interact with and are affected by each environmental phase. After one player finishes each of these phases on their turn, it's the next player's turn. The second player will then progress through the same phases on their turn. The game progresses like this until one player's team is eradicated, scenario objectives have been met, one player surrenders, or another game-ending event occurs. There are many ways a game of Lands of Ruin can end. It's not always simply about annihilating your opponent. Once a player has met their personal goal, or once defeat is imminent, a player can propose ending the game through the command console's menu. Both players must agree to this in order for the game to come to an end. Once the game has been ended, the command console calculates all the remaining effects and threats on the tabletop and presents the results of the game to both players. This includes information about individual character achievements and experience gained, scenario objectives met by each player, and displays who was victorious. The Command Console app consists of several main components. After the game has been set up, the players will see the game's main screen. This screen consists of a column of character cards, a representation of the tabletop map, a turn sequence indicator, and control bar. Just as in many tabletop games, the character cards provide the player with all of the statistics of each of their characters. Here you can find things like the character's name and image, what weapons they are carrying, available movement, assigned actions, effects, and damage they have sustained, as well as suppression. The turn indicator displays not only whose turn it currently is, but also what phase of the player's turn is being played. As a player completes a phase of their turn, they tap the next button to progress to the next phase. The color of the phase icons denotes which player's turn it currently is. Both players' tablets will display this information so they can both see the progression through each other's turn. The number indicates the current turn. Tapping the menu button reveals additional options, like the ability to rotate the map to match the view from your side of the table, turn tutorial mode on or off, details about the scenario you are playing, and the possibility to end the current game. The Intel button allows the player to see environmental details about the world surrounding the tabletop. The information and level of detail will be dependent on what skills and equipment are possessed by the player's characters. Typically, this will show the threat level from any NPCs in the area, as well as a map of the surrounding area with the various NPCs' locations plotted on it. This will allow players to predict incoming threats and change their strategies accordingly. Tapping the Opponent button will show the player a limited view of the opponent's characters. Of course, any sensitive or secret information will not be displayed, as this would be unfair. It is mainly to help identify which of your opponent's characters are which, and what equipment they have. The Team Morale indicator tells the player how their team is holding up. As the team receives damage and casualties, their combined morale will fall, and panic may ensue. Low morale makes it harder for characters to follow orders. If the team leader loses control of the team, the game will be over. Don't let the morale bar go empty.